What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful night tonight. Beautiful night. No breeze, nothing. Just everything is still. Feels nice. Fresh water with ice. Delicious. Delicious. So today I was thinking about Herb Alpert. I am a big fan of his. I've always wanted to see him live. He is still currently alive. I was in his 90s. He's 90, 91, I don't know. But he's still around. And I've been a fan of his since probably the mid-80s. Mid-80s. Long time. And I discovered him by accident, which is usually how I discover new music. By accident. That's how I discovered Tom Waits. That's how I discovered Leonard Cohen. By accident. And the way it happened with Herb Alpert, I was over at my uncle's house and visiting, and he lives out of the way a bit, small town, like John Mellencamp, but not there, but it's a small town. And I was in his basement that connects to the garage, and he had converted the garage into like a little room. And I noticed over there on the side there was a box, good sized box, and it was filled with albums. And when I hear music, I can hear it calling my name. I had to go and investigate. So I'm looking through it. I don't recognize any of these bands, these singers, none of them. I do now. Now I'm older, now I know who they are, but back then I had no idea who they were. They were from the 40s, the 50s, and a few were from the 60s. But most of them were from the 40s. And my uncle, he looks at me and he didn't want them. I said, "Where'd you get these?" And he said, "Oh, a lady down the street cleaning out her attic found these up there, and she gave them to me." And I said, "Oh," and he goes, "Do you want them?" And now I did want them. I always want to hear stuff I don't know, you know. So I said, "You know what? I'll take a few. I won't take them all. I'll take a few," which I should have taken all of them because I think he threw them out. So I took maybe, I don't know, a dozen, maybe 15, something like that. I went through them, boom, boom. And one of them caught my eye in a major way. And that was Herb Alpert. And he's on a plane, little plane, and it's called Going Places. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, I think, is what it's called. It was released in 1965, and immediately I took that one. I said, I gotta hear this one. This one, it looks good. Just from the cover, I didn't know anything about him. Never heard of him before. So I took that one. I took Dennis Day. I remember was in there. Dennis Day. I didn't know who he was. I know who he is now. And I grabbed a bunch of other ones. Anyway, that same lady who gave my uncle those albums also gave him a turntable with 2 speakers. And he says, "You want that?" He goes, "I'm not going to use it," he says to me. I said, I'll take that. And it was very heavy. It was like you picked it up and you were picking up like, weights. Get a workout moving that around. So I took that and I took a bunch of albums. I went home and started playing them. And then I got to Herb Alpert's Going Places, and I could not stop playing that one. I could not stop playing. I love that kind of music. I love it. It's just relaxing. It's very, very soothing to me. And I said, you know what? One day I'm going to see this guy. I thought even back then, probably he's not around anymore. But in the mid-'80s, he was not that old. And now he's old, but back then, he wasn't that old. So once in a while, I'll drive by. I remember one time I was driving by, not too far from here, and it said, "Tonight playing Herb Alpert." It was a little poster, and I said, "Oh man, I want to see that guy." Didn't see him. So I think he's still active, and I would love to see him now. But he does a really cool version, and it's on that album, Zorba the Greek. Really good version. One of the best versions I've ever heard. Could be the best. So, yeah, that kind of music, nice, powerful speakers. I used to blast that in my house. Anyway, that's he's also, by the way, it's a by the big way, founder of A&M Records. The A is Alpert, and I think the M is Moss, Jerry Moss. They got together, they started A&M Records, which is, anybody who knows anything about music knows A&M Records. Very big company. So, yeah, one of these days, I don't know where it's going to be. Guess I should get on the internet and find out if he's touring or if he's playing anywhere. But I would really, really love to see him. I'd love to invite him at my house. Come to the house, play in my living room. Not too loud. I don't know if neighbors... I don't even know if they could hear us. But I would love him to come over. Bring the Tijuana brass over, too. Yeah, we don't know what we're missing in music. I listen to all kind of stuff. I would go to Amoeba. I still go to Amoeba. And in the old days, when Amoeba was located in a different part of the neighborhood, I would go into unfamiliar territory, like categories of music that I was not familiar with, and I would look at something and I would just grab it just by the picture of the album, the title, whatever. Something would grab me and I would take the album and I would come back and listen to it. And you'd be surprised, there's good stuff out there that we never hear on the radio. But yeah, I have a ton of stuff that, nobody heard of except people that know that band or that singer. But it's not popular. You wouldn't hear it on AT40. But yeah, I've been a fan of his for many, many years, decades now. Anybody knows him, let him know. Let him know that I'm a huge fan of his. Get him together, Lee Majors. Some of them are not. I was a huge fan of David Carradine because he was in Kung Fu. But get all these people that I admired over the years, and have them in one room, and I can talk to them and get it out of my system. I'd love to meet some of these people. Lee Majors still around, 86 years old. Herb Alpert still around. Like to meet him. Trying to think who else. Billy Joel could come by, talk to him for a little bit. Just a few people, that had a major influence on me as I was going through life. Still going through life. Larry Holmes. Like to talk to him a little bit. Larry Holmes. But yeah. So for me, I like to go into the obscure side of the record store and look at what's there. So I buy Mojo, which is a magazine that reviews albums, CDs, whatever. And the other one that I get Mojo, and I get what's the other one called? It's like Mojo. The word escapes my mind right now. Mojo and can't think of it. It's just like it left my memory. Mojo I get all the time though, and I used to get Rolling Stone, sorry, no S. Rolling Stone magazine. I was getting Rolling Stone when Rolling Stone was big. You'd open it up, it was like opening up a big box. It was, huge. And they shrank it down to a regular size magazine. But I found that, I don't know, Rolling Stone is nowhere near as good as Mojo. Mojo has, I go in there and I read the reviews, and 99.3% of the reviewed albums, I've never heard of them. I have never heard of them. I don't know who they are, and sometimes I will look and read a good review in there, and I will actually go and buy the album and listen to it, and I expand my musical horizons, by hearing something new that I've never before had in my brain. But Mojo is one, and the other one. Yeah, it's funny. Can't come up with it. Can't come up with it. Yeah, but Rolling Stones for me has it's been a disappointment. Been a disappointment. I don't even think they rank albums anymore. I think they just give you a review. I guess they don't want to offend anybody. I don't know. But yeah, what's the other one? Mojo. Yeah, I'll get it in a few minutes, and then I'll be frustrated that I didn't mention it. But yeah, like I said, very disappointed in Rolling Stone magazine. Billboard magazine, I get it once in a while, not that often, but I do still get it, especially if it has an interesting person on the cover. And I remember listening to Casey Kasem, American Top 40, which is based on Billboard magazine. And I used to think in my head back then, I've never seen this Billboard. Is he making it up? Who has this Billboard magazine? Is it only people in the industry that get a copy? Because I can't find a copy anywhere. So one day I'm in the movie theater. Me and a friend of mine went to see a movie. And we were there a bit early. So it was me and my friend waiting for the movie to start. The lights were still on. And there was a couple sitting diagonally across, older couple. I mean, we were, I don't know, like maybe we were like 18, 19 years old. We were young. And this couple was probably like, I don't know, late 40s, early 50s, something like that. And the woman had a magazine. She had it open up. She was reading it. I couldn't see what it was. And then she kind of turned a little bit, and I saw Billboard. And I said to my friend, look, it's an actual magazine. And he didn't know that either, But Casey Kasem would always say, counting them down, AT40, AT40 lists them and we count them down. I didn't know I didn't think it was a real magazine. So anyway, I saw that. And from that point on, I would get it once in a while. I would get it. Very interesting. I used to check out the ratings there. The ratings, the ranking. See, I got a text here. I got to look at it. Yeah, it's a good magazine. It tells you oh, by the way, that Alpert. It's an unusual name. Not that I've never heard it before, but I don't know anybody named Herb. Herb Hancock, maybe. Herb, in my life, I don't know anybody. It's a rare name. Herb Alpert. You want to say Fat Albert or Albert, but no, it's Alpert. Herb. I think it was a car too, in the like a movie about a car named Herb Alpert. They don't call him Herb. I don't think so. Herb Alpert. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, still that Mojo on the other one. What's the other one called? So anyway, I was just gonna say that album, Going Places, went to #1 on the Billboard charts. #1. Very impressive, and I think it went gold, which is huge for somebody of that genre of music, right? And from what I understand, I heard from a good source, he was very good friends with Quincy Jones. I heard it from a good source. Trust me. Mojo, and might have to do an investigation here, because it's one of those things I need to know. Mojo, and when I see it, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's what it was. How could I not remember that? No, I'm trying to find if they, when you look up Mojo, if it'll give you something similar. But maybe if I put similar. But I love Mojo. I've been getting Mojo now regularly for years. Good magazine, good interviews, good reviews, everything in there. Good. Give me something here. No, it's just Mojo. Everything's Mojo. I hear Mojo and it reminds me of Muddy Waters. That song got my mojo. His mojo was working, but it's not going to work on her. No, nothing. I put Mojo similar, but I'm sure, like I said, it'll come into my head. What was it? Mojo. I remember. Uncut. I love that magazine. So those are the two magazines I get now. Uncut and Mojo. Great writing in those. Great music. I can't tell you how many albums I have purchased over the years just because I read a review in there that I liked. Yeah, but at one point I was a huge Rolling Stone magazine fan. I used to get it delivered for years to my house, and I couldn't wait. I remember, like you'd think, okay, it should be here in a day or two, and I would run down the stairs when the mailman would come, and if Rolling Stone was in there, man, I would read it cover to cover, and then at some point I was like, yeah, they're not that good anymore. And I don't think they don't talk about a lot of music I want to hear about. And a lot of the stuff, the interviews are not that great anymore. But anyway, I don't want to get involved. What time is it? Because dinner's coming. We ordered some good stuff. Alright, dinner should be here any minute. We got some good chicken, kebabs, nice rice, vegetables, big salad. Today was a quiet day. Not much going on. Nice weather. The Northeast got hit with a good snowstorm, and another one is coming. But apparently the snow was fluffy. It wasn't that heavy stuff. I enjoy a good snowfall, but then I'm looking around, I'm like, all right, get the mess out of here. After a couple of days, I want it out. I remember as a kid, it would snow, and you'd be very excited. I don't know why it excites people when it snows, but it would excite me. It was like, oh, snow's falling. And I would go outside and enjoy it, and you'd drive, and snow would be coming down, and it was something about it was pleasing. It was a pleasant experience. But then, after, I don't know, a week or so of looking at this stuff on the ground, you get sick and tired of it. It would get dark, dirty, brown. Some of it was yellow. We never ate that. And, thinking, okay, time to get it out of here. But when it was falling, especially at the beginning of the season, it was, awesome. Especially when you're a kid, right? I think now, from my point of view, I would be like, okay, it's falling, okay, get out of here. Let's have like a day where it's 80 degrees and everything just melts. But back when you're a kid, first day of snow of the season, very exciting. You'd play in it, had my sled, I'd go up the hill, very dangerous too. The hill I'd go down, and the hill would end up on a main street, you know. So if you didn't stop in time, cars were going up and down. Like, the hill was quiet, but there was a main street. And I remember one time I was playing in the snow on a main street. You know, my mother wasn't like, where is he? He's out in the middle of the street. They had no idea. So I'm doing this over and over, going up and down, up and down, up and down. It was fun. And I picked up speed, and I ended up going into the main street, and cars were coming, and I rolled off my sled, and I grabbed it, and I got out of the way just in time. Just in time. But my father, you know, he would take me to another place. It was like a park, and everybody would go there, and that was safe. There were no cars there. You just go up the hill and come down again. And one time I had when I was really little, I had a snowmobile-looking sled. No engine, no motor, nothing like that, but it looked like a snowmobile. And at this park, I had some good speed. I went all the way to the top of the hill, and I came down, and there was a picket fence at the bottom, and I didn't stop in time, and the front hit, and it broke the front of my sled. Broke it off. I was very disappointed. But that's the way it goes. So yeah, the worst thing about snow when you're a kid, when the weathermen get it wrong. For example, I remember being in high school, and they said, big snowstorm coming tomorrow, 12 inches of snow. And I said, definitely we are not having school tomorrow. So I said, I'm not doing my homework tonight. I'll do it tomorrow. So I stayed up. I enjoyed the night. And then I got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I said, you know, I'm going to look outside. And I had in my brain an image of the whole place looking white, and, you know, about a foot of snow on the ground. I pull the curtain, I look out, and I see it was raining. And I had this panic inside. I said, oh, you know what? I didn't do my homework. And it was a lot of homework. In that school, they give you a ton of homework. And I didn't do any of it. And I had to go to school. So I went to school, and that day I was constantly explaining. I didn't do my homework today. You know, the teachers were all angry. I want to tell them it's not my fault. It's the weatherman. It's his fault. If he got it right, if the forecast was correct, I would have done my homework. But I based my, you know, opinion not to do my homework on the weatherman's opinion about the weather. So, very disappointed. Yeah, I remember it was a few times it happened like that. I'd wake up, and it would be raining, and then the weatherman would say, well, you know, warm front came in and changed the snow to rain and all that. I'm like, you know what, I should sue you guys for putting me through the hassle of having to, you know, take punishment at school for not doing my homework based on what you told me. I gotta go. The food is here. That's it for now. Ciao.